Part 22. Online game Dungeon Master. Author, Bulletin Lau Bulletin Si Bulletin Me. Chapter 211. A simple cave filled with a large number of expensive ancient books with metal covers. At his feet was a special magic circle drawn with blood. The entire cave was rendered in a terrifying red color, making those who stepped into it frightened. But for Shen Xian, this was just, like ghost movies, there is no way it will scare him. But is this really the residence of the most mysterious appraisal master in the slums? As he was thinking wildly in his mind, a short and skinny confused demon appeared in front of him. Although he looked so weak, level 160 showed that he had power comparable to that of a god and should not be underestimated. There was no aggression in his eyes, but the distorted space around him showed that as long as he dared to offend this devil, he would be shattered to pieces in an instant. His name is Kid, the master of lies. What do you want from me? Appraisal. If you can't arouse my interest, don't come to me, Kid said coldly. In his eyes, a knight is nothing, and he has no hope for what he brings out. But when Shen Xian took out the soul center, the excitement on Kid's face suddenly replaced the indifference. Where did you get this? He looked nervous, stretched out his hand to grab the soul center, and sighed, what a perfect thing. Could it be that you didn't discover the characteristics of this ancient thing? In the description column, a line of data appeared, exempting all spells below level 5, including magic, divine spells, and spells mastered by creatures. However, if the soul center only has this attribute and it is not enough to qualify for the epic level, the two waited silently. Kid played with the soul center hesitantly. After dozens of seconds, another line of data was displayed, and the attributes were enhanced by 10%. Master Kid, don't you think you can tell us the origin of this thing? The confused devil smiled. You want to know? No, this is a secret, and you are not qualified to know it. When Kid finished speaking, he thrust the soul center into Shen Xian's hand. No one noticed that a strange force entered the soul center at that moment. It seems that he has gone out, Shen Xian said to Yan Yao, staring at Kid's uneasy look from a distance and saying doubtfully, only to see the confused demon disappear from sight in a few steps, and he didn't know where he went. Since even Kid is unwilling to tell the origin of this item, the only way is to use the power of the Royal Library, Yan Yao said. The Royal Library, the highest library in the country, contains hundreds of thousands of books. Only some of the collections in the Archmage Tower can compare with it. As long as clues are found there, the origin of the soul center can be revealed. When the two returned to the second territory, the construction of the Gate of Hell was completed. An obsidian gate with a height of more than 10 meters, with sword-wielding devils standing on both sides. The misty halo dissipated, revealing another world of birds and flowers. A dreamy scene, through which one can reach the main material plane. Directly according to the spatial coordinates on Shen Xian's body, the other end of the Hell Gate was placed underground in the center of the town. After a while, 200 players from the Bloody Cross arrived here. These were the only remaining players from the Desert Frontier Alliance. They were of extraordinary strength. When they arrived in Hell, they stared at the surroundings curiously, with excitement on their faces. Lord, is there anything I need to explain, such as assistance in territory construction? If not, we will go level up. After Tu Jukan was defeated by Shen Xian, he completely obeyed this lord. This kind of person only worships the strong by nature, although there is still a barrier between the two of them, but it is much better than before. Shen Xian thought for a while and said, first clean up the territory of 100 kilometers by 100 kilometers centered at my feet. I have sent shadow dragons to investigate. There are hundreds of thousands of devils in total. You can collect or eliminate them as you like. You have just when you go to Hell, you need to adapt to the environment here first. If you have a devil's constitution, the impact will be less. If you fall into the lava river, you will lose a few hundred lives at most, and there will be a dry and cold snowstorm. In short, you will be fine if you get used to it. Shen Xian's goal for Tujukan is to raise the level of the players in the Bloody Cross by 4 levels within a week. However, they have to spend this week here because the cost of teleporting so many people to hell at one time is nearly 500,000, so it cannot be done frequently. Proceeding. Okay, I will complete the mission. Tujukan tried his best to promise. He walked to the player and announced loudly, "Everyone gather, our goal in the past few days is all the hostile forces in the territory. We will start from the north first, and the reconnaissance team will go to investigate. We are leveling up around the territory, please pay attention to your formation and leave now." The quality of professional players is indeed different from that of amateur players. After a while, they gathered together and started leveling. This is a boring process that most players cannot understand, but in their eyes, it is just like life. Seeing the blood-stained cross in place, Shen Xian controlled the development of the territory. As a territory closer to a fortress type, it needed solid defense. City gates, towers, suspension bridges, and one indispensable ring that drove the devil around a radius of about 200 meters around the territory. Excavation was carried out, and slowly a moat made of lava was completed. Then, he arranged the schedule for the next building. Once the resources are sufficient, they will start construction immediately. The Dark Dragon City is not suitable for them to continue to stay. After completion, he and Yan Yao will ride the Shadow Dragon to fly to the southern city. Meadow City is a small city with a population of 300,000. The public security here is chaotic, and you can even level up directly on the street. You can imagine what kind of place this is. But when Shen Xian revealed his knighthood, the onlookers, the judgment demons, came out and chopped the mischievous little devils into pieces one by one, and respectfully invited him to visit the city lord's mansion. Shen Xian's main goal was still to level up, but the efficiency of leveling up with a team was far less than that of a squad, so he politely declined the invitation and went to look for a suitable task with Yan Yao as a squad. Online game DungeonMaster. Author, Buletin Lao Buletin Si Buletin Me. Chapter 212. There are many tasks around Meadow City. Most tasks take 20 to 60 minutes to complete and reward experience ranging from 200,000 to 1 million. For a player who is proficient in finding tasks, a task chain is the best choice for them to upgrade. When several task chains completely overlap in the same place, it is a happy thing. Mission: hunt the little devils, kill 20 little devils, and reward 150,000 experience points. Mission: hunt the confused demons, kill 25 confused demons, and reward 180,000 experience points. These tasks can be said to be mindless tasks that have existed since the birth of online games. However, when 5 or 6 tasks are stacked together, the efficiency is amazing. If you want to search for these tasks from the 4 or 5 task release points in Meadow City, that is a test for players. In the next few days, Shen Xian still maintained the 2-day level 1 upgrade speed. As one of the few high-level leveling hells in the country, this can be said to be his last chance to improve his strength. Soon, he reached level 76 10 days later. If you want to level up later, it will be difficult to find a suitable leveling target, because level 76 is a very high level, and it is only scattered in most corners of the world and will never gather on a large scale. More you can only rely on challenging the strong and maintain the speed of 1 level per week. Although level 76 is still not worth mentioning compared to powerful NPCs, it is already impossible for others to kill Shen Xian at this time. With 54,000 lives, even a level 100 heroic unit will need at least 5 times attack. Such a character will never appear among players, so level is the key to ensuring that the territory does not undergo drastic changes due to the death of the Lord. At present, the northern part of Dusk Hills is completely in the hands of Dusk Town, while the southern part still remains in a state of chaos. Under the secret control of thoughtful people, This divided situation is not without its benefits, but this situation will not last long, because many players have discovered this problem and tried to solve it. In the center of a village in the southern part of Dusk Hills, more than a dozen players gathered together. Several of them were core members of the Dongda Game Club, and one was the leader of the bridal chamber who had been expelled from Dusk Hills. Although the territories of these players still exist in the world of Kingdom, they can be described in 4 words, that is, living on. Perhaps their territories have just been promoted to the center of the town, with a population of more than 3,000, but compared with Dusk Town, even Mithril Town in the middle of Dusk Hills cannot be compared. The gap is too big. Bridegroom Lord, we can't go on like this. Dusk Town will completely take away our chance to rise. Are you just watching? The speaker was Mitsubishi, the leader of the Dongda Game Club. Behind him stood more than a dozen lords and adventurers from the Dongda Game Club. The bridal chamber leader secretly thought that it was none of my business, but he said, Mitsubishi-kun, could it be that do you have any idea? Mitsubishi nodded and said, the bride is the son of the famous Tianhai Group in China. It is no secret that Tianhai Group has entered the country, so you must have a large amount of funds in your hands. As long as you dare to spend this money, then we will have many opportunities. The bridal chamber leader does have nearly 1 billion in funds, but it will take several years to get them in place and must not be spent like pocket money. Wanting him to bow his head and be proud in front of others, he couldn't save his face and said, yes, I do have a large amount of liquidity, but I'm afraid it's not appropriate for me to just contribute the money. Yes, speaking of this, Mitsubishi also said proudly, I am the grandson of the president of the famous Mitsubishi Corporation in Japan. So as long as we join forces, doesn't it mean that we can't break this deadlock? Hearing that Mitsubishi was also willing to pay, the bridegroom leader's face improved slightly. Mitsubishi is really rich. I wonder how much money you can invest? There is nothing in this world that money can't do. In this case, I think an investment of 5 million is enough to persuade the surrounding forces to jointly deal with the Lord. Mitsubishi's expression changed, and he thought that 5 million was far from enough. Damn, this bridal chamber leader was not a good person either. I thought it would be easier to talk to him if I gave him a Japanese woman, but who knew he would be so ruthless? Mitsubishi is ostensibly the grandson of the president of Mitsubishi Corporation, but he also has 3 brothers, and he is still the least effective. He is not as prosperous as he said. It would be good to be able to offer 20 million yen. According to the current exchange rate, it's about 4 million. At this rate, this little money alone can't bring down the Lord. It is said that the value of the fiefdom in Dusk Town has exceeded $500 million, and many large groups are targeting this place. This indirectly explains, could it be that the Lord's power could only sink like this? Seeing Mitsubishi's silence, the wedding leader was also worried. He thought that this guy who claimed to be the grandson of the president of Mitsubishi Corporation was a rich man, but who knew he was also a pauper. Sending a Japanese woman is useless. What hasn't he enjoyed in the virtual world? If you don't have money, you don't have money. Why should you ask him to pay? Although the wedding leader is lustful, he has never been in trouble because of women when it comes to money. The two of them were secretly worried. In addition, they were too arrogant before. It can be said that these territories are always being watched by the forces of Twilight Town, and there is no chance of luck. Mitsubishi looked back at the people behind him and said, Sakaguchi, Takahashi, you can also invest a few million. This time I contacted the international virtual mercenary organization Fengguo, the most powerful international game studio in the world. As long as 100,000 adventurers set foot in Dusk Hill, no matter how powerful Dusk Town is, it will not be able to turn over in front of Fengguo. No one knows where Fengguo's headquarters is. Most players only know that it is a huge online game studio organization with tens of thousands of core members and millions of peripheral members. It mainly completes the requirements in various virtual games and is very powerful. It is said that the once famous game guild Evil's offended Feng Guo, and hundreds of thousands of members were hunted down by Feng Guo for several months until the guild announced its dissolution. Of course, it costs a lot to let such an organization take over, especially for such a task that requires a large number of manpower. 10 million is definitely indispensable. After hearing Mitsubishi's question, several people were silent. Not everyone is as rich as Mitsubishi. Most players don't play games to give away money. It is absolutely no problem to spend hundreds or thousands of dollars every year, but investing tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars at once is unacceptable to them. Next to Mitsubishi was Matsu's Hima, who was silent. She had fought with the Lord at the beginning. This was a very dangerous opponent. Now Inagawa and Kamiya have become small lords in a small village in the north of Dusktown. They farm and develop peacefully all day long. Only Matsu's Hima is still insisting here. Matsushima's family has a small savings, and a few $1,000,000 is not a problem. She has a negative attitude towards Mitsubishi's plot. She believes that as a club, it is definitely not to make the players in the club bleed heavily and satisfy personal power ambitions. Matsu's Hima would rather take a peaceful way to solve this problem. She believes that as long as the conditions are reasonable, there is no turning point. However, although she is the vice president, given that the feminist movement in Japan is not taken seriously, her words are seriously insufficient. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Online game Dungeon Master. Author, Buletin Lao Buletin Si Buletin Me. Chapter 213. Mage Tower. The fourth elite has been organized. Miss Yao stood on the high terrace and looked down at the neat army at her feet, with a satisfied smile on her face. The Guardian, the second turn Magic Knight and the War Mage, the history of these two professions needs to be traced back to an ancient time when magic was prevalent. At that time, the faith of the gods had not yet been divided, and the difference between magic and fighting spirit was not so great, so a group of people who focused on offense and defense formed the legendary Order Association. This is an ancient organization with a long history. From the first elf war tens of thousands of years ago to the glorious expedition thousands of years ago, this group of people appeared in this world. It is rumored that they believe in an extraordinary God. Whether it is true or false, history has not left any record. The probability of accepting the hidden task order in chaos is 0.1%. The task requires players to complete a secret test of the Order Association before they can really contact this organization. Miss Yao has only completed half of the test, that is, she has changed her job to a scholar and obtained an epic robe, and then changed her job to a guardian at level 75. The success rate of completing all trials is 1%, that is, one player can come into contact with the Order Association in 100,000 people, but even so, this is just the tip of the iceberg. Guardian Deputy Commander, Catherine, second turn lawbreaker, as a member of the territory construction in the early stage, has profound magic knowledge and skilled combat instincts. Magic Knight, condition 60 level, has excellent mobility and defense against magic, specializes in a type of magic, talents arcane coordination, elemental beasts, and apocalypse. War Mage, condition 60 level, a mage who masters large-scale damage magic for war, can jointly release forbidden spells, talents energy link, insight, elemental mastery. The combination of the two professions can lead to countless tactical changes. Compared with other elites, the Guardian has only 80 people, the Hand of Ursuline has 200, the Knights of the Black Blade has 400, and the Bloody Cross has 200. The number is the smallest, but once used properly, these powerful mages can take thousands of lives and play an indelible role. In the virtual hall, Shen Xian sent invitations to 11 major forces around Dusk Hill to jointly negotiate the control of the surrounding small forces. The 11 major forces include 8 underground and 3 on the surface. Although most of the time the underground world and the surface world are in endless disputes, they are always connected secretly. The 11 major forces include the 3 big bosses of the heavens, I am not kind to Buddha, the 33 heavens of the heavens, the 33 heavens, the great emperor Huang Zhengtian, the second largest beauty guild in China, Dehua Island, the UAE National Guild, the military and the senate of the fourth largest guild in Canada, CRI, the Spanish powerful player US, the American player Sheep and the former agent VV of the British Mi-6. These 11 major forces control about 400,000 square kilometers of land in the underground surface world, and the players distributed around the 11 major forces occupy more than 500,000 square kilometers of land. This is something that must be solved. At present, there has been no large-scale conflict between players, because the living space of the major forces has not been saturated. There are a large number of small forces in this world that can be plundered. These are a group of lambs to be slaughtered, and no one will be bored enough to set up a powerful enemy. Because of the different camps, the 11 major forces cannot sign a legally binding alliance agreement, but the cognition of the surrounding small players remains surprisingly the same, that is, they cannot be left alone. Although all the players' fiefs have reached their peak, it is still necessary to include these players in their sphere of influence, which will be of great help to their promotion to Earl in the future. They need to divide the sphere of influence, although it is not permanent, but it is indeed necessary to distribute all the players in this area who have not yet accepted their rule. The principle of distribution is strength. As the great lords of the 11 major forces, none of them are new to business and construction online games. They are very familiar with the necessary stages in the process of these games. Land is limited, resources are limited, players are limited, and everything needs competition. Now they just solve this problem with a negotiation method. Those who can sit in this position are not simple-minded players with strong limbs. Moreover, no player will not understand this simple truth. Therefore, since a total of 12 great lords including Shen Xian have come together, it is best to find a way to avoid losses. Using the map as the border, mountains, rivers, and canyons as the borders of major forces, this has been recorded in ancient times. Although it will cause unfairness, it is not so easy to annex a piece of enclave. Players would rather cede these places to other players in exchange for other benefits and interests. When the 12 players get together, they are also the presidents of the chambers of commerce around them, so that they can immediately cooperate in business and promote trade. Moreover, through this discussion, the players signed a 1-month peace agreement, allowing the players to invest in economic construction. Players can see that the peace agreement is just a chance for them to prepare. The conflict will eventually break out, but everyone knows it tacitly because it has not yet reached the stage of launching a full-scale war. Through this meeting, the territory's trade routes were expanded to as many as 9 surrounding forces, and the number of territories assigned to Dusktown was 185 pieces, 18,000 square kilometers. Of course, some unpleasant things happened during the meeting, but as Xiao Yan said at the beginning, Shen Xian had contact with countless high-end players, and it was easy to control the direction of a meeting. Perhaps this was an undemocratic performance, but it was in the best interests of Dusktown. The number of territories under the control of Dusktown was small, but the territories did not lack this little tax. What was more important was to expand trade routes and develop technology. Unlike the large forces with sufficient manpower, Dusktown had the advantage of NPCs, and the most important thing was to endure hardships. Online game Dungeon Master. Author, Bulletin Lao Bulletin Si Bulletin Me. Chapter 214. After the meeting, the players disappeared one after another. Shen Xian called Sheep and told her that he had something special to discuss. Sheep nodded and agreed. I wonder what the Lord wants to talk to me about. We are competitors, Sheep said, her face completely shrouded in darkness, which was extremely mysterious. But Shen Xian said, it's true that we are competitors, but we are not without room for cooperation. Oh, Sheep smiled slightly. You can imagine what kind of face is behind the darkness. Players should know that Sheep is a woman who may stab you at any time, so no matter how much you expect from her, you can't report any idea. What is it? Count Nezzel, Shen Xian answered. Before the rise of Dusk Town, Nezzel's territory can be said to be the economic center of this area, but as Dusk Town gradually entered the vision of the underground lords, Dusk Town took away the original status of Nezzel's territory and became a new town with highly developed technology and economy. This is the competitive relationship between the two places. Although Sheep is a member of the Vank family, if she wants to grow, she must control the family. The two earls in the family will never allow this to happen, so if Sheep does not resist, she can only be suppressed. This is the inexplicable contradiction between Sheep and the Vank family. This is the opportunity for cooperation. Unfortunately, this woman is too smart and too ambitious. This is why Shen Xian was unwilling to cooperate at the beginning. Although Yan Yao is also very smart, she is still a little tender compared to her. Although the VIP status of the virtual lobby remote conference platform makes it impossible for players to know Sheep's appearance, Shen Xian still knows some of her true identity and does not want to have in-depth contact with her. However, if you want to complete the goal of expanding the territory as soon as possible, you must cooperate with her. Although I don't know if this will become a stupid thing to make wedding clothes for others, at least the two have the same goal to weaken the status of Earl Nazar in the Vank family. Haha, Sheep smiled faintly, of course I know this, but do I have to cooperate with you? Will others not promise me more benefits? I don't think you, Lord, will give a suitable condition, because you are afraid that I will grow up and don't want me to rely on the Vank family to rise quickly. Even if there is no Lord, Sheep will play the Vank family with its own strength. Cooperation will only reduce the benefits. Why should she cooperate with the Lord? This is a difficult problem. Shen Xian couldn't think of any benefits that could impress this woman. In addition to the fact that cooperation can accelerate the deadline for the fall of Nezzel, the rest of Shen Xian will not give this person any chance. He also believes that the real Sheep will not give the protagonist the opportunity to grow again and again like the villain boss in some modern animations, and finally let the protagonist defeat himself in turn. He analyzed it. Defeating Earl Nezzel can make the vast market of the Dark Swamp completely open to him, and the surrounding forces can lose a strong competitor. Sheep can quickly take the throne. She can control the huge power left by the Vank family. As an NPC family, there may be a lot of hidden forces. It is difficult to weigh. Even if Sheep and Neizer are left alone, he will not have an easy time. There will be no comfort of sitting on the mountain and watching the tigers fight. He will only face a double crisis. In other words, one of the two must fall. What will happen if he unites with Neizer? Will this insidious vampire lord be as dangerous as Sheep? But Neizer will never believe that Sheep will pose a threat to him. This is the inevitable result of blood relatives. As for using other surrounding forces, the effect will never be as obvious and quick as that caused by Sheep. The question is how to overthrow Count Neizer and make Sheep cooperate so as not to grow too much. Although Shen Xian has thought about the chips he has given, he still feels that this plan will cause him a lot of losses, because Sheep can completely refuse the help he seeks, so the initiative is in the hands of Sheep. Lord, have you thought about it? If you want to cooperate, you must put forward a condition that satisfies me. Of course, you will definitely not refuse. Shen Xian gave a series of conditions for cooperation. First, Sheep needs to provide. First, hand over the military data of the Vank family. Second, provide Shen Xian with the origin, quantity, price, and route of the goods of the Vank family Chamber of Commerce. The biggest benefit of Sheep lurking in the Vank family is that she can access the family's highest secrets. As a descendant with a very high generation, Sheep's status will never be discriminated against because of her age, and the benefits of mastering intelligence are obvious. It is crucial to plunder the Vank family's caravans at any time and carry out targeted attacks on the goods operated by the Vank family. These can cause heavy losses to a family. And the obligations that Shen Xian needs to fulfill include, first, assist Sheep in obtaining the title of Earl. Second, secretly fund Sheep with enough resources to develop the territory. Sheep can control the power of the Vank family only after obtaining the title of Earl. As for funding her territory construction, her position in the family can be unbreakable. These rights and obligations are implemented gradually and can be terminated instantly if either party regrets, without any loss of interests. As for the fall of Neizer, the two temporarily agreed that the Vank family would withdraw from the sphere of influence in the western part of the Dark Swamp, and Dusk Town would have the right to conduct large-scale trade activities in the western part of the Dark Swamp, and allow long-distance trade across the territory where the Vank family was located by paying a small amount of trade tax. Dusk Town shall not interfere with the Vank family's opening up of new trading areas, and at the same time recognize the Vank family as a trading partner and shall not carry out malicious attacks. Although it was just a verbal clause, or these subsequent agreements were meaningless, Sheep still listened patiently and considered it again and again, weighing the difference and advantages and disadvantages between this and non-cooperation. Originally, without interference, it would take Sheep half a year to take away Neizer's position, but it would only take 1 month to cooperate with the Lord, which undoubtedly saved a lot of time, but what was left to her was definitely a broken fiefdom, which would take a long time to recover. Sheep didn't care about this. She also had the advantage of capital. What she needed was status and power, which could not be obtained by slow management alone. Heroes emerge in troubled times, and the more you want to grow quickly, the more you need amazing moves. Sheep made a decision in an instant, then we will have a happy cooperation. No one knows how long this cooperation can last. Online game Dungeon Master. Author, Bulletin Lao Bulletin Si Bulletin Me. Chapter 215. At the end of October, the country had been open for 4 months, and the founding war of Hong Huang was still going on, with no signs of success. Players speculated on what kind of test Hong Huang would face, quietly enjoying a peaceful life while working hard to grow the territory. At this time, in the town center of the Dongda Game Club in the south of Dusk Hill, President Mitsui received an ultimatum from Dusk Town. The ultimatum included the dissolution of the internal alliance of the Dongda Game Club, directly joining the new alliance as a lord, reducing the army by more than half, and the 23 players of the entire club were only allowed to have no more than 500 troops, and opening up the right to trade in 23 territories including Se Town. This was a naked threat. "Don't agree to them," a member of the club named Kinoshita shouted firmly. "No, okay." Mitsui's resentment could be said to be vented. If he had known, he would not have opposed Dusk Town. He did not expect that it would be such a terrible enemy. The Ursuline hand led by Mist Erlin quietly waited outside Se Town. As long as Mitsubishi dared to resist, the Lord of Se Town would change in a few hours. Feng Guo asked for 2.5 billion yen, and it was only to keep our Dongda Game Club alliance safe for 2 years. Mitsubishi gritted his teeth and said, "I told you to find out the other party's background before doing anything, and you shouldn't have touched this person in the first place. Matsushima, didn't you notice anything when you attacked?" Matsushima snorted coldly, "You only vent your anger on women?" "It was indeed me who attacked the Lord, but it was because of the 2 idiots Inagawa and Kamiya, and your territory was far away, so I did it." Mitsubishi saw that Matsushima dared to talk back, and he hated it to the extreme. "Bitch, one day I will make you pay for everything with your body." But he thought of an idea in his heart, and smiled sinisterly. "Matsushima-kun, I remember that you made a deal with the Lord last time. Can't you talk to the Lord?" "Mitsubishi, what do you mean by this?" Matsushima's face changed, and his body couldn't help trembling. Don't you understand? I heard that Matsushima Electric is facing difficulties and is asking Mitsubishi Corporation for capital injection. Although I, Mitsubishi, have no power, I still have a say in terminating the cooperation. What do you think? Matsushima-kun has a good technical level in our game club. I wonder if he is good at diplomacy. Mitsubishi smiled maliciously and said, Matsushima, I think this is how it should be left to you to solve. Everyone, go offline. There is no benefit in fighting against Dusktown. Maybe Matsushima-kun can give us a surprise. The remaining players' dejected expressions disappeared at once when they heard this. It is better to shirk responsibility, even if it is better to push this task to others than to bear it completely by themselves. Moreover, Mitsubishi said that he invited them to the famous Kabukicho in Tokyo at night. This is a man's paradise. No normal man would refuse it, so they turned into white light and went offline. In other places in Dusk Hills, a village called Tianchang Pavilion is facing the siege of 500 first-level professional troops. The first-level professional army of the regular army of Dusktown accounts for 56.5%. Even if they are not second-level elites, they can still cause devastating blows. This is a model of quality defeating quantity. As for the several territories adjacent to Talange in the southernmost part of Dusk Hill, the lord who was tortured by the lord of the bridal chamber signed an alliance agreement and announced that he would leave the original Southern Alliance and join the new alliance. Lord, one day I will make you live a life worse than death. The lord of the bridal chamber clenched his fist and roared secretly with deep hatred. Facing the situation where the Southern Alliance was split into three by Dusktown, Canadian Cry, and Spanish player Us, the lord of the bridal chamber was powerless. We are powerless to resist, Master. The best thing is to give up here and rebuild the power of Tianhai Group in the New World. Humph. Do you need to remind me of this? Yellow Vest, the leader of the bridal chamber, was more open-minded than Mitsubishi. He waved and signed his name. The remaining 40 players of the Southern Alliance were divided into three parts and belonged to the surrounding forces. As for the leader of the bridal chamber, he had decided to delete his account early and expand the power of Tianhai Group in a new place. Since Mitsubishi has not invited Feng Guo to come so far, he had to make this plan. If he can't afford to provoke, can't he hide? The leader of the bridal chamber thought negatively. After signing the agreement, he also went offline. The place he went to was called Chunseokan Jinlu, which was also a place that men dreamed of going. Although so many surrounding players will not receive any benefits from joining the alliance, they have huge advantages in trade. First of all, they can build a road that leads in all directions, which has a significant effect on improving the movement speed of the caravan. In addition, Shen Xian himself did not ask for more player resources in this strategic alliance, which gave him some trade compensation, and the Dusk Chamber of Commerce could freely walk in these tens of thousands of territories without any blame. Everything was going on in an orderly manner. After a week or so of integration, the rule of this 1,000,000 square kilometers of underground world will fall completely into the hands of a big force, and the population of the fiefdom will reach 80,000. As for the fiefdom of Hell, the population growth is even more amazing, and it will become a large fortress with a population of 5,000. The development mode of the Hell world is indeed completely different from that of the underground. The two armies of Tujukan and Luna continued to fight in Hell, and the experience points provided in the wild were countless, almost sweeping away all the weak devil groups in the surrounding areas. The siege weapon barracks in Dusktown were also built, but they did not produce traditional ballistas and catapults, but a kind of highly mobile dragoons. The planning of the temple was carried out secretly. About 500,000 gold, 180,000 stone, 60,000 wood, and 60,000 grains could provide the territory with about 4 points of satisfaction, 3 points of civilization, and 6 points of miracles. However, before most things were completed, Shen Xian still focused on the work of excavating players and integrating territories. Excavating players is mainly to find the special talents of players. Although the territory implements a system similar to a monarchy, it is not easy to be misled by external forces. It is the best way to take when the Lord is strong. The benefits of finding talented players are self-evident. The integration of territories is mainly to improve the satisfaction of surrounding players' territories. In this way, residents with stable lives will never riot for some simple reasons. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Online game Dungeon Master. Author, Bulletin Lao Bulletin Si Bulletin Me. Chapter 216. Sheep is a trustworthy girl. Since her cooperation with Shenxian, she has successively contributed information about the Vank family. On the big map, the vast map of Dark Swamp was opened, and blood crystals exclusive to the vampires appeared in every corner of the map. Blood crystal can absorb the blood of living things. A blood crystal with sufficient energy can provide 10,000 experience points/day. The elite of the Vank family, Blood Wings, 500 second level 60 Scarlet Guards. The Vank family controls nearly 1,100 territories, a population of 500,000, and an army of 38,000, occupying 2/3 of the Dark Swamp. But now all this data falls into Shenxian's hands. The next series of actions became logical. On November 3, the Bloody Cross led by Tujukan launched an attack on the Blood Crystal in Baron Miller's territory. On November 4, the Yuzalan Hands led by Mist Aaron launched a raid on the Vank Chamber of Commerce's caravan carrying hundreds of thousands of gold goods. Every time he avoided the army just right, Niizel, the main person in charge of the Vank family, had to suspect that there was an insider in the family. Niizel would never have thought that Twilight Town would dare to launch a conspiracy against his family, because the consequence of a viscount offending an earl was that the earl would punish the ignorant person mercilessly. The Vank family controls nearly 40,000 troops, so the military power of Twilight Town is nothing to him. However, the family's losses in the past few days have been as high as 2 million, accounting for almost 1/10 of the wealth controlled by the family. This made Niizel very angry and vowed to find out the source of the crisis. After a series of events, the Vank family became more and more strict in protecting the caravans and inspecting the buildings, which reduced the losses day by day. However, at this time, Shenxian no longer carried out direct attacks through the army of Twilight Town, but hired a large number of scattered troops. Players destroy some important facilities. Destroying a blood crystal will reward you with 50,000 experience points and 700 gold points. As the transportation center of Dusk Hills, Dusk Town accommodates no fewer than thousands of adventurers. Although it cannot be compared with cities like Waterdeep, it is still easy to find a large number of adventurers who work hard for money. Players are immortal, and 700 gold may seem like a small amount but is a huge sum of money for an adventurer. 700 gold is enough for a week's living expenses, so players are very enthusiastic. In addition, Shenxian contacted several major mercenary groups active in the surrounding areas, such as Tiberian Moon, Traces of the Earth, and Nights Without Summer. Although these mercenary groups with a long history and good reputation cannot plan a sea of people like Fengguo tactics, but the players in the mercenary group are all ashes who have been in the game industry for more than 10 years, and they are very efficient. Over the next few days, losses continued to grow, reaching a whopping 4.5 million. Niizel almost reached the point where he couldn't bear it any longer. Even Count Chuman, who had been unable to retreat, came to the front desk and began a thorough investigation. However, Shenxian has no intention of stopping the destruction because of the current situation. Once the Vank family is controlled by sheep, the power she controls will be too powerful and it will easily be detrimental to him. Simple destruction alone is not enough, only interlocking strategies can deliver a fatal blow. So in the next few days, a new round of attacks on the Vank family began. The Vank family has planted a large number of bloodthirsty mushrooms in the dark swamp, which are necessary materials for growing high-level pharmaceuticals. They are widely distributed in the dark swamp, supplying the pharmaceutical needs of tens of millions of people in the surrounding areas. This kind of bloodthirsty mushroom can easily survive a few hundred meters around the blood crystal. There are a total of 5 large-scale bloodthirsty mushroom farmlands in the territory of the Vank family, which provides the Chamber of Commerce with an income of more than 3 million per month, accounting for 1/3 of the family's income. The goal starts from here. As long as the Vank family's pharmaceutical production is reduced, insufficient market supply will allow other forces to take advantage of it and steal the Vank family's market share. On November 8, under the guidance of a group of guides familiar with the underground world, a special operations team from the surface world's Madman Studio came to Baron Miller's territory to complete the task of purifying evil. The vampires are naturally afraid of light. When the Elven Temple priests cast the Divine Scroll, Baron Miller's territory was immediately thrown into chaos. The other side was obviously well prepared, not to destroy the army, but just to destroy. A large farmland of bloodthirsty mushrooms was completely destroyed, along with dozens of blood crystals, resulting in a direct economic loss of 1.5 million gold. In view of the fact that Sheep and Count Schumann, the patriarch of the Van Cleef family, have a favorable relationship score of 81, Count Schumann has no doubt that Sheep is just associated with some competitors. The alliance of exiled nobles in the south must be the work of these despicable guys. Miller saw the desolate appearance of the bloodthirsty mushrooms surrounding the broken blood crystals that looked like they had been trampled by a herd of bulls. Annoyed. "I think so too, Miller. After the farmland in the territory is destroyed, the production of bloodthirsty mushrooms will drop by at least 1/5, and the production of pharmaceuticals will drop by 1/6. It will take at least 3 months to recover. Only our competitors will do something like this." Nieisel remained silent while facing the ruined farmland. According to his opinion, although the lords of the exiled noble alliance had competition, they would never do such a thing. Because this is an extremely secret place, how can it be found easily? Very few people have access to family secrets. He was more suspicious of the woman, but there was no evidence, and Count Schumann trusted her so much that he had no choice. Another point is that Sheep's army is all under his surveillance. Intelligence shows that she has not made any unusual moves. Therefore, he suspects that Sheep has contacted other people, perhaps those lords who have conflicts with the Vank family. He suspected in his heart, but did not show this on his face. Sheep raised her head with her hands, thinking about how to take advantage of the opportunity to rise, and found that the Lord was completely impeccable and could not find a way to seek a breakthrough. "It seems that I have to suffer a little loss temporarily," Sheep said secretly, trying to cooperate. Her expression and demeanor really did not show that she was the insider of the Vank family. Since there was no result, they had to make up for the loss first. Count Schumann and Nezel secretly prepared a plan to recover the loss while putting all the troops on alert, which made the harassment of the players fall into a situation where they had nowhere to start. Online game DungeonMaster. Author, Bulletin Lau Bulletin Si Bulletin Me. Chapter 217. On November 12, the expansion plan that Neitzel and Schumann had been preparing for months finally began. A caravan carrying 1,600 bottles of powerful healing potions slowly headed towards the Callant Passage in the west. Powerful healing potions, one of the life-replenishing potions that have always been in short supply, cost only 100 gold, but were sold for 300 gold. Each territory is proud to be able to refine powerful healing potions, because this marks the territories the alchemy industry has reached a point of prosperity. Only when there are a large number of NPCs with level 6 alchemy can powerful healing potions be mass-produced. Coupled with refining technology, the Vank family will be able to obtain a large share of the market in surrounding areas at 8 levels below the market price. Even if competitors want to suppress it, It will not be that easy. The caravan is protected by 2,000 soldiers with an average level of 40. Although it is a bit fussy, this is the prelude to the Vank family's involvement in the Kalunt Pass market. In addition, in order to guard against ubiquitous sneak attacks, this approach is not exaggerated. The commander of the caravan is Nizel. As the next leader trained by the patriarch Schumann, he has given Nizel great hope. The sophisticated Schumann controls the situation in the family territory and will not be attacked on both sides. On the afternoon of November 12, Shen Xian contacted several players around the Dark Swamp and issued a call to harass the Vank family. The Spanish player Us and the president of Peach Blossom Island, Juan Quan Bilao, are both major lords in this area and have shown a strong interest in this plan. After all, what is needed to jointly conquer the NPC forces at this time is investment, because even the relatively powerful Peach Blossom Island is only equivalent to 1/7 of the strength of the Vank family. But the benefits are self-evident. Without the restrictions of NPCs above their heads, players will be able to develop freely. This is the sort of dark mores hanging above their heads, which may hurt them at any time. Distance communication and close attack, this is Shen Xian's way of restricting sheep. Even if he didn't tell them, they would definitely make a difference in this civil strife, so it was necessary to discuss a better plan. Because he didn't know the potential power of sheep, Shen Xian didn't dare to be careless. Us and Juan Quan Bilao were not so easy to fool. The only advantage was that he knew how dangerous sheep was. Lord, we can all see the situation in the Dark Swamp. I'm afraid you will be needed to solve it properly. Us did not express his opinion. He was a good picker. He pushed the matter to Shen Xian and wanted to share some of the benefits afterwards. Shen Xian was unable to stop it. Don't you think of a solution yet? Juan Quan Bilao also pushed the task to him. A woman's heart is very careful. When she signed the alliance agreement, she found that the heavens were selling the Lord's account. This showed that the Lord was not as simple as he seemed. In this case, why did she need to raise her opinion? After returning to the starting point, although he was a little depressed, this was human nature. He had already become accustomed to strange things. After thinking for a while, he said, "You two only need to contain the Vank family's army. You don't need to do anything. Just practice leveling in the name of Chen Bing. There are 10,000 soldiers. They don't dare to act rashly on the border of the Vank family." The two people's eyes lit up. This kind of effort was indeed extremely easy, and they immediately replied, "Of course there is no problem." But Shen Xian thought about what if the two of them joined forces with sheep, for example, paying some price in exchange for them not controlling part of the Vank family's territory in the end. This would be detrimental to him, even if the possibility was slim. Unfortunately, there is no natural fortress like Talange that can block the two places, so it is very difficult to solve this problem. At 4 o'clock in the afternoon, Nizel left the border of the Vank family's territory, and there were still 9 hours before arriving at Sodom, the central city of the Kalunt Pass. Nizel's territory, Quagmire City. This is a small city with a population of 32,000, where a large number of high-level alchemists gather. Once Sheep takes control of this place, she may become the first player in the world to own a city. Under the blurred lights, a mysterious army quietly entered the depths of Quagmire City. In the center of the city, in a splendid domed rotunda, Count Schumann slowly walked out of the wooden coffin with a gloomy expression. Standing in front of him was Sheep. Facing such a powerful level 105 hero, Sheep was not afraid at all. "My Lord Earl, don't you think I am the most suitable successor to the Vank family?" Sheep said slowly. The gray-haired Schumann said in a deep voice, "Maybe, but the Vank family does not need a matriarch." A pair of blood-red wings spread out from behind. Blood-red wings increases movement speed by 120% and life recovery by 200%. It is an important skill for advanced vampire battles. Schumann may have thought of Sheep's purpose when she entered the room, but he was so arrogant that he would never agree. As the patriarch, no one could easily take away his power from him. The battle began. The war mage directly chanted the terrifying earthquake magic. The center of the city suddenly fell into violent shaking. Hundreds of thousands of lives fell rapidly at the rate of thousands and thousands. Count Schumann jumped up. He stretched out his hand. From the wooden coffin in the basement of the city center, hundreds of huge zombies pushed open the coffin lid and walked out step by step. Level 50, 10,000 lives, it was easy to deal with a new profession. But their opponents are the Guardians. The Magic Knights propped up defensive barriers of several meters in size, and the War Wizard continued to chant spells, watching the city center shaking more and more violently and about to fall apart. The destruction of the city center, the territory satisfaction dropped by 5, the prosperity dropped by 3, the civilization dropped by 3, and the miracle dropped by 3, which was a heavy blow to the territory. Sheep commanded her men to hunt down Count Schumann without caring. The death of Count Schumann, the territory satisfaction dropped by 7, the prosperity dropped by 2, the civilization dropped by 2, and the miracle dropped by 2, which was also a devastating blow. However, the rebellion can only be successful when the satisfaction of the territory drops to a certain level, and they have to do this. Hundreds of zombies were quickly eliminated. Even if they were very strong, facing the Guardian and Miss Xiao, who had a good gaming level, the zombies had only one way to go. 0 casualties. Several assassins sent by Sheep were killed by Count Schumann, who tried to kill Sheep who instigated the rebellion. Because Schumann can find an heir after his death, but Sheep can't, Sheep's death satisfaction drops by 10, prosperity drops by 5, civilization drops by 5, and miracles drop by 5. Just 10 points of satisfaction can lead to the disastrous consequence of no change in population within a few weeks. Online game Dungeon Master. Author, Bulletin Lao Bulletin Si Bulletin Me. Chapter 218. Shen Xian stood not far away and watched the battle. The flexible body of the vampires allowed Schumann to dodge at will. It was difficult to kill Count Schumann, but he chose to sneak attack Sheep again and again to kill the woman who intended to replace him. Too fast, blood-red phantoms flashed in the air, and 3,000 and 4,000 damages floated out one by one. After dozens of seconds, Sheep's health was less than 10,000. This was a battle with a huge disparity in strength. The dying Sheep cast a level 9 magic scroll, and a strange black cage immediately closed the surrounding space. Schumann could not move, and the masked assassin's pace suddenly became faster. A series of lightning-like raids left Schumann with only half of his 750,000 life. It's impossible to kill me, Schumann stretched out his tongue to lick the blood from the corner of his mouth, and slowly recited the spell. The blood crystal stone arranged in the swamp city suddenly shone with a stream of light and dark alternating. Tip: Schumann obtains the energy of the blood crystal stone and replenishes 8,000 health points. Tip: Schumann obtains the energy of the blood crystal stone and replenishes 8,000 health points. As soon as Schumann's health points were knocked down by half, he immediately recovered and started a fight. Those level 80 assassins fell one after another, and Sheep fell into crisis again. At this time, the health points of hundreds of thousands of people in the city center were finally exhausted and completely turned into ruins. What happened to the Lord? What happened to the swamp city? Many residents exclaimed when they saw the collapsed city center. Many timid residents fled directly back to their homes, and some hurriedly left the city to avoid the war. The population of the swamp city plummeted. The 8,000 stationed troops were divided into several groups and rushed to the city center. Soon, the 5,000 troops of Sheep territory clashed with these city defense troops. On the surface, the 8,000 city defense troops had an advantage in level and equipment, but several elite NPCs of Sheep territory were very good at commanding, and the city defense troops could not break into the center of the city and contact Count Schumann. Because they wanted to seize the position of the Patriarch, the troops of Sheep territory came out in full force. After success, the swamp city would definitely become the center of the territory. There was no need to keep the original city and disperse the troops, but they would be defeated one by one. The war between the two sides made the narrow streets of the swamp city devastated, with ruins of houses and fallen bodies everywhere along the road. The subversion lasted for several hours. On the one hand, Schumann had a strong strength, and on the other hand, Sheep's tricks were endless. In addition, this was an internal war, and the remaining members of the family had different attitudes towards this upheaval. Some were secretly lured by Sheep to remain silent, and some belonged to the forces of Neiser who wanted revenge. The latest lord also learned about the incident 2 hours later. It can be said that the transmission of the incident was quite fast. However, the sudden appearance of tens of thousands of troops on the border made these lords dare not act rashly. Who knows what hidden power that woman has? If they don't have eternal life, it's not worth it. In any case, Shen Xian is in a delicate stage. If he fully assists Sheep's actions, it is obviously no problem to seize the position of Patriarch, but he can't do this, which will only establish a powerful opponent. While Sheep was dealing with Schumann and the city defense army, Miss Xiao secretly led people to destroy the alchemy laboratory in the swamp city. The alchemy laboratory in the swamp city is the largest potion production place of the Vank family. There are no less than thousands of potions flowing out of here every month. There are also countless alchemists serving the Vank family here. However, these alchemists will follow Shen Xian. The alchemy laboratory is very large, and dozens of exquisite houses connected to each other are arranged with countless magic traps and alchemy creatures. But the guardians are not in vain. The combination of excellent destructive power and excellent defense makes them not afraid of the threat of magic. There is also Miss Xiao. Although her level is the same as Shen Xian, the offensiveness of the scholar is stronger than that of the Scarlet Lord, often causing 2,000 damage in an instant. In addition, the technical strength of Dusk Town, which has risen for less than 4 years, is similar to that of the Swamp City. The combat power of the 60-level Magic Knight is basically the same as that of the Magic Puppet guarding the laboratory. The two sides are evenly matched, and the comparison is the level of command. The Magic Puppets have low AI and are powerless in the face of a group of flexible troops commanded by Miss Xiao. They are surrounded by divisions again and again. It took a while for these dozens of Magic Puppets to be scrapped. Still 0 casualties. Those alchemists were surrounded. "Wait a minute, don't kill us, we surrender," an alchemist shouted. Facing a group of troops that easily destroyed the Magic Puppets, the alchemist's resistance was meaningless. "But, please, Miss Night and Day, guarantee our safety," the remaining alchemists shouted. They were afraid of death and did not have the so-called chivalry. Besides, the alchemists in Dusk Town seemed to have higher salaries, which made the alchemists less resistant. Shen Xian sent 2 elite troops, the Hand of Ursuline and the Guardian, to capture the swamp city this time. With fewer people, it was easier for Sheep to lead them to the hinterland of the Vank family. Otherwise, they would be eliminated before entering. Under the escort of hundreds of second-level wizards of the Hand of Ursuline, these alchemists put on camouflaged black robes and rushed to Dusk Town. The rest continued to fight. The battle to capture the swamp city was just over halfway. Shen Xian stood on the top of the tallest tower in Quagmire City, looking into the distance. As the army led by Wu Sulan's hand left, several black spots quietly appeared in his field of vision. Wu! A thunderous and terrifying sound spread throughout the city, sweeping everywhere like a storm. Several players stood on the streets of Quagmire City and looked up blankly, and suddenly shouted, "It's a dragon! A flying dragon! Damn it, who sent the flying dragon?" Those flying dragons were not very fast, but there was a black shadow dragon commander in front of them. With the power of the dragon like a tsunami, the flying dragon suddenly began to dive and launch an attack. Panic spread. What do these flying dragons want to do? The residents looked at the 7 or 8 flying dragons wandering in the sky, looking extremely helpless. Fei Long grabbed several tons of rocks on his feet. When he was less than 50 meters away from the ground, he threw all the rocks down. He only heard a deafening sound, and several walls of Quagmire City collapsed to varying degrees. However, this was Fei Long's first attack. In the next 10 minutes, Fei Long dropped more and more rocks. It's too scary. I know what they are going to do. Everyone, get out of here, a druid hissed, taking his companion's hand to take him outside. The druid understood the purpose of the flying dragons. Their purpose was to trap this place and completely seal the swamp city. Facing a giant dragon that looks like a siege machine, how much time will it take to clear a passage through so many stones? Shen Xian's goal has been achieved. In this case, Count Schumann is hard to fly. Sheep's operation this time will undoubtedly win. The rest is nothing more than a game for the spoils. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Online game Dungeon Master. Author, Bulletin Lao Bulletin Si Bulletin Me. Chapter 219. In the center of the city, the spire connecting the dome is now in ruins. In the dusty world, Schumann, whose health is less than 10%, is unable to move under the control of 4 spellbinders. He can kill the spellbinders with a full-strength attack, but the spellbinders do not give him a chance. The mysterious power pulls his body, and he cannot move, cast spells, or attack. Schumann whispers, "I'm dead, and Nezel will be back soon." Sheep smiled sweetly, "It would be best if that's the case. But I don't think Lord Nezel will come back. It takes at least 10 hours to return from the Callant Passage, and this time is enough for Sheep to control the situation. Nezel will never do such a thing to kill himself." When Count Schumann thought of this, it was too late. His death was coming. Although the body of the vampire was extremely flexible, it could not pass through the thick soil and rocks. After that, several half-dead assassins around Sheep approached again, and the poisoned daggers emitted sharp green light in the darkness, with a hissing sound. One by one, phantoms appeared behind Schumann, and 4,000 and 5,000 damage were flying all over the sky. Tip: Schumann died, gaining 4,000 experience, satisfaction decreased by 7, prosperity decreased by 2, civilization decreased by 2, and miracles decreased by 2. At that moment, the members of the Vank family sensed Schumann's death through the connection of the blood clan. Those who followed Neiser changed their faces, and Neiser, who hurried to the Callant Passage to finish his business, was even more shocked. "Mr. Earl, should we go back quickly? As long as we unite the family's army, we can take back your position even if the Patriarch is not here." Several humble zombies encouraged, and the crystal cup in Neiser's hand was crushed at once, and the blood-red liquid slowly flowed down from his pale hand, and it was unclear what it was. "No," Neiser murmured, "that woman must have made full preparations, otherwise how could Lord Schumann be assassinated by them?" Neiser knew how powerful the defense of the swamp city was. With an army of 8,000 and countless towers, how could Schumann be killed so easily without special means? Sheep had a channel to bring the army in, and Sheep had a way to prevent Schumann from escaping. Neiser thought of many things at once, which made him give up the idea of going back. Although the Vank family was cultivated by the Schumann family through the embrace ceremony and had blood ties, there were still many people who were dissatisfied with his rise to power. Therefore, as long as the family's army could not unite one day, it would take a long time to prevent the birth of the new patriarch. Doesn't that woman care about the family being attacked by other forces? Neiser thought, but he never thought that Sheep was not an NPC, but a player. Players have their own forces and don't care about NPCs at all. After killing Schumann, Sheep absorbed his remaining energy. Unlike normal races, if you want to improve the attribute growth of the vampires, you must rely on absorbing the power of the elders. The ancient vampires with a lifespan of thousands of years are the best food. The lowest can also improve the growth of 5 attributes by 1. If a vampire is lucky enough to get the first embrace of the ancestor vampires at the beginning of the game, then he will get heroic growth from the beginning, surpassing many players. This is the characteristic of the vampires. After Schumann's death, the resistance of the city defense army was much weaker. Except for some mindless zombie troops, those non-knight professions are easy to betray. On the surface, Sheep did not bring many troops, but secretly followed many special units, assassins, and spellbinders. Those level 80 NPCs are useless in the melee, but they can be used to deal with Schumann. Lord, the next thing should be handed over to me, Sheep said, waving his hand and saying, "See our lord off." Sheep did not take any unfriendly actions towards Shen Xian. On the one hand, she was under pressure from above, and on the other hand, the time was not yet ripe. Shen Xian's 2 elite troops seemed to have only 500 people, but they had the ability to match 2,000 troops. Whether or not she could succeed in a conflict with him at this time, the shortage of troops alone would delay the time for her to control the family. This is extremely unfavorable for the recovery of satisfaction. Just imagine what would happen to a city that has been in war and terror for a long time. Low satisfaction will cause a sharp decline in population, bring about a series of economic and technological stagnation or regression, and bring a catastrophe to the entire Vank family. In fact, the abnormal death of Count Schumann has made the residents of this territory panic all day long. Who knows if those troops will capture this place one day? So 1 hour after Count Schumann's death, the population of the territory controlled by the Vank family dropped by more than 2,000. Seeing that Sheep had successfully overthrown the Vank family, Huan Quan Bilo and Us took the initiative to block a group of Vank family's peripheral nobles for Sheep. The army entered the territory, and the tens of thousands of grains needed by the army during this period were naturally provided by these territories. A disguised occupation. But Sheep was not angry, at least these people saw the situation clearly and did not have the audacity to completely defeat the Vank family, so she had enough time to integrate these forces. In the next few days, Sheep sent invitations to several family members around, asking them to recognize her position as the patriarch. Nozzle, who was dissatisfied, readily agreed because Sheep promised that they could get a large territory after success. Enfeoffment, but Sheep never thought of enfeoffing her territory. This was the root cause of the decline of monarchy in ancient Europe. She would never be unaware of this. Doing so now is just a stopgap measure. As long as everything in the Vank family is stabilized, everything is possible. In less than a week, Sheep integrated half of the power of the Vank family and controlled 500 territories. The number of her original territories was more than 150. Her strength has greatly increased, but there are surrounding forces eyeing her covetously. She still asked Shen Xian to take away a rich land rich in blood-sucking mushrooms, dark flowers, and roots of callant from the east of the dark swamp. The size of this territory is about 100 territories. Relying on these territories, the population of the area controlled by Shen Xian reached 110,000. Nezer still stayed in the Callant Passage. Perhaps he had thought of a solution but had not yet implemented it. Online game Dungeon Master. Author, Bulletin Lao Bulletin Si Bulletin Me. Chapter 220. When Sheep succeeded in seizing the seat of the head of the Vank family, the founding war of the South finally came to an end. With more than 300,000 soldiers killed in the battle, and with the Southern Alliance recognizing the Great Desolation as a turning point, the country of Great Desolation finally bore the mark of legitimacy. A country of the undead, with more than 1 million residents, 200,000 adventurers, and 50,000 lords gathered here. This is something that the northern country cannot tolerate. Soon after, the Eye of Judgment and the Church of the Throne of Light issued statements one after another. Otherwise, the existence of the Great Desolate meant that the Holy War would soon occur, and this land that was contaminated by the undead and abandoned by the gods would eventually be purified. Together, the emperors of the two empires of the Eye of Judgment and the Throne of Light, the Pharaoh Empire and the St. Empire, acquiesced to the Church's statement, which marked that Hong Huang would soon face a new crisis after completing the task of founding the country. The South China Sea Alliance responded quickly. The five largest countries successively denied the Church's claims and demanded that the forces of the two major churches withdraw from the alliance and not destroy the freedom of the world. Although they expressed firm protest to the outside world, the alliance did not actually agree with Hong Huang, but the endless power possessed by Hong Huang frightened these countries, and the ability to build a country with a population of 1.3 million in a short period of time frightened them. However, their greater threat lies in the north. They will never let those northern believers set foot here and destroy the order established over hundreds of years. In any case, the prehistoric era now has tens of thousands of territories, and they are facing the strongest power in the continent. This is not the best chess move, but it is a chess move that can lead to infinite changes. People will wait and see, and want to know about the prehistoric state. How far will it go? Soon, November passed quietly. After this relatively peaceful month, the average population of the player's territory exceeded 300. This means that the world's 500 million lords control 150 billion NPCs, distributed in the main material plane. In every corner of the plane, whether it is on the mountains or at the bottom of the ocean, whether it is the endless abyss or the 9 levels of hell, there are traces of players everywhere. This month, Shen Xian developed step by step and did not make any surprising moves. First, a group of alchemists enslaved from the Vank family were used to form a second autonomous alchemy district besides the Black City. The alchemy area is located around Miss Yao's Master Tower. About 200 experienced alchemists work day and night to provide 18 different types of potions for the territory. The pharmaceutical industry, which originally accounted for 1/3 of the revenue of the Vank family Chamber of Commerce, lost about half due to this disruption. A small part was snatched away by Shen Xian, and the rest was divided among the other lords. Although the pharmaceutical industry that Shen Xian grabbed only accounted for a part of the Vank family's revenue, Dusk Town's main market was in the south. Through this introduction, the trade volume in the south increased by 30%. Of course, the addition of alchemists has made Dusk Town's manufacturing industry more developed, forming a series of heavy industrial chains such as potion, enchantment, forging, tailoring, copying, and engraving. These life occupations are closely related to the military, so they are included in the category of heavy industry. As for the light industries that improve residents' satisfaction, such as jewelry manufacturing, food cooking, furniture processing, painting and music, Dusk Town has made little progress in these areas. The territory's trade volume remains at around 2 million gold, mainly consisting of black market exchanges and foreign trade. The black market is the most rapidly developing project in the past few weeks. The black market relies on popularity, so such a thing can only appear in densely populated big cities. When the population of Dusk Town exceeded 10,000, the number of visitors to the black market increased. In addition, this was the largest place within a radius of 300 kilometers, and wealthy people from the surrounding areas would come here to make transactions. The black market in Dusk Town is quite special. The dark elves provided here are of high quality, which makes some carefree visitors have a soft spot for it. Dark elf level is a good standard for measuring grade. When NPCs do not have stunning attributes, those family guards captured at level 60 from the underground dark elf world are of course better than those grown on the underground level, plus they are closer to dark elf society. These dark elves are more authentic to visitors. If these step-by-step developments are relatively simple, the military expansion plan is more difficult. One of the most important issues is the talent issue. The population in the area controlled by Dusktown is about 130,000. This is not a big number, but the population growth is still slow. The Level 8 food technology developed at a cost of 2 million gold can increase food production by 80%, but it has not brought with a larger population limit. If you want more people, you still need to find new sources of food. This is determined by the geographical environment. Although the divided territories of the Dark Swamp are under his control, they are not fiefdoms and do not need to pay taxes. In addition, the medicinal farmland is a large part of the trade, and it is impossible to dismantle the medicinal farmland and replace it with growing food. The upper limit of the population that the current farmland can support is about 150,000. 150,000 people can maintain an army of 16,000 and can create about 4,000 first-class professions. However, this is already the limit. In other words, among the population of 150,000, as long as we can pick out talents who can perform the first-class occupation, the army will cycle with old people dying and new people joining. Under the constraints of the general situation remaining unchanged, the number of first-class occupations will never increase. However, the army's first transformation progress has just reached 70%, and there is still a big gap. If no NPCs who can be transformed into the first transformation can be selected from the population, the combat effectiveness of the army cannot be improved, which makes Shen Xian very worried. Building a library and improving satisfaction is a way, but the effect is too slow. Imagine that an NPC is cultivated from infancy. Only the longer the influence time, the more obvious the effect. To make the territory's first transformation profession grow naturally, you need to wait for half a year. This is half a year in reality, which means 6 years in the game. By that time, the situation has changed again and become unpredictable. However, the first transformation of the profession is imperative, which will minimize the gap between the quality of the territory's army and the NPC forces. The unified organization is more suitable for command and will not cause problems due to different skills. Therefore, Shen Xian had to use other special means to accelerate the transformation of the first transformation profession and ensure that the territory's army can achieve a complete transformation.